day, everybody. This is Yin Yang in California with morning number Morsels of a Thought, number 1812. It is this many days I've come to you, and we are here, hopefully, that we can get some words of wisdom, morsels of a thought of wisdom, so that we can learn the right things to do. Now, when we learn the right things to do, more than half of the population is women. And what I do is on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I concentrate on the rules by Ellen Fein and Sherrie Schneider, because Ellen Fein and Sherrie Schneider wrote down all the rules in 1995, time tested secrets for capturing the heart of Mr. Right. Excuse me. And this is an entirely different perspective on how women date men. Women date men by seeming passive. We don't take the active role in pursuing, but we run really fast when we're being pursued. And when we're being pursued, they have to pin us down for a date. Once they got us down for a date, we're easy to be with. And then once they've got us down for a marriage, we're also easy to be with. And taking the action to do this is not so easy. It's really not so easy. In my mother's words, not so easy. So we're going to learn how to do all the rules. First of all, today, I want to go back to rule number 11, which is always end the date first. Always end the date first. Let me get a bookmark here. The authors say, if you have not been living by the rules, then you probably didn't know that the first date or two should last no more than 5 hours. A good way to end the date is to nonchalantly glance at your watch and say something like, "Gosh, I really must be going now. I have such a busy day tomorrow." As we said before, don't say what you're doing. It doesn't matter, and it's none of his business. Ending the date first is not so easy when you really like him and want to marry him and you're both having a great time. But it must be done because you must leave him wanting more of you, not less. If he wants to know more about you as the date is ending, he can always call you the next day or ask you out again when he drops you off. It is our experience that men will want to see you a lot, sometimes every day in the beginning, and then grow very bored very quickly. So abide by the rules and he'll stay smitten. Not ending the date first is bad enough. What's worse, however, is prolonging the date once it should have been over. Randy felt that she was, quote, losing, end quote, Bob at the end of their second date, dinner, and a movie. So she suggested that they go dancing. Bob didn't want to hurt her feelings, so he said okay. Then he never called again. Of course, Randy should have ended the date right after the movie, but she thought she could excite Bob with her great disco dancing. Other women try to prolong a first or second date, for example, by inviting the man up to her apartment for a drink or coffee so that he'll fall in love with her decorating or her home brewed decaf. No. First of all, it should be the man trying to prolong the date, not you. He should be suggesting dancing, drinks, or a cafe where the two of you can get dessert and cappuccino. If he didn't suggest it, then it's not supposed to happen. Instead of worrying about making the date interesting or longer, just make sure you end it first. Now, a word about all these things. I'd like to talk about what I'd like to talk about and what I can talk about are different things. What I can talk about is that, where is it? Right here. If he wants to know, he'll stay smitten long. It must be done because you haven't wanted more out. And he can always call you the next day. Okay. Here, it mentions something about inviting them up to your apartment. And I need to mention something about the rules. Now, all the rules were written in 1995. The first book was The Rules, and it was here. I'm yanking it out of the bookcase. Here. This is the rules as it was written at that time. And at that time, it was said that you could take him up to your apartment after the fourth date. Um, this process was supposed to be regarding people you met through friends and through um, introductions and matchmaker groups that you got to know personally. In those days, there was no internet, and without the internet, you didn't have people able to talk to each other across the world just like that in seconds. So you didn't have people knowing, oh, okay, I can go and take a plane over to Los Angeles today and get there. And you didn't know that. People didn't have that information. So getting to know each other was a lot more safe by comparison than today with the internet. So in the rules today, all the rules today, we don't take the man to our apartment until after at least 3 months when we are safe with him, when we're comfortable with him, when we know that we're safe. In the old days, we used to actually be introduced by friends and friends of friends. And I have to say, even that's not the safest way. But, even then, things can happen. But bad things can happen. But when people ask me things like, well, what about your dating life? Well, I am reading the rules. I'm not breaking them. Whatever I do, I don't break the rules. I have told you before that I have actually lived out of my car and still been doing the rules. Nobody knew I was homeless. Nobody knew I was sleeping in my car except for the very private few people that were able to assist me where I needed assistance. And I was never able to I was never able to date at that time. I couldn't just go to a date and say, I don't know, it just would have been harder. I didn't think about it actually at that time. But that's how I do the rules. I do them all the time. I don't I don't skimp on doing the rules. I don't compromise my values. A lot of women would say, at that time, there were women who, I met at shelters who said, girl, I'd be doing some business if I was you. I had that car, and no, no, that's not how it worked. That's not how you can get assistance without having to do business of that kind. So I hope I inspire somebody who is sleeping in her car and who knows that the rules can be done by somebody who actually went through that experience. I have to say, the first time and the last time those things happened were not that close together. The first time and the last time were spread more than 15 years apart. So I will say that it's not you just there's so much I can say about that. But safety has always been my big and I've been vigilant about safety. So what I want to say is you don't invite the guy, you don't get into his car. Don't get in his car. Don't get in his car. If you don't know the guy for at least 3 months and then you have um, a holiday coming up or, you know, you have something coming up you really want to date like yesterday, um, no, no, just keep in mind, if you're doing that, then you're actually not doing the rules. Just keep in mind, whether you're doing the rules or not, it's your choice. You can choose to do the rules and you can choose not to do the rules. But if you're not doing the rules, don't say you're doing the rules. Mm-mm. No, no, no. Okay, so let's go to always end the phone calls first. How do we do that? Rule number 6. Back to the authors. Ellen Fein and Sherrie Schneider, they would have a lot to say about this because that's what they said. They said, Don't call men, see rule number 5, except to occasionally return their calls. When a man calls you, don't stay on the phone for more than 10 minutes. You don't call men. Buy a timer if you have to. When the bell rings, you have to go. In those days, we didn't have the cell phones that were available today. People had cell phones, but they were very expensive and not everybody had them. So we didn't all have a timer in our hands. Now, when you're talking on the phone, it's not that easy to see a timer unless you've got earbuds on or if you're on speakerphone. But if they're on speakerphone, um, use your timer. Okay, when the bell rings, when the timer goes off, you have to go. That way you seem busy and you won't give away too much about yourself or your plans, even if you don't have any plans. By ending the conversation first, you leave them wanting more. Good conversation enders are, I have a million things to do. Well, it's been really nice talking to you. Actually, I'm kind of busy right now. And, oh, my phone just went off. Or somebody I know goes like this. Oh, somebody's at my door. That's what somebody says. I can tell you who it is, but I won't say it at the moment. Remember to say these things in a very nice way. Women love to talk, and one of their biggest faults is talking to men as if they were their girlfriends, therapists, or next door neighbors. Remember, early on in a relationship, the man is the adversary if he's someone you really like. He has the power to hurt you again by never calling again, by treating you badly, or by being around but indifferent. While it's also true that you can reject him, the fact is that it's the man who notices you, asks you out, and ultimately proposes marriage. He runs the show. The best way to protect yourself from pain is to not get emotionally involved too quickly. So don't stay on the phone for an hour or two recounting your feelings or every incident of the day. You'll become transparent very quickly and run the risk of making him tired or bored. He does not want to he does not want to date his crazy younger sister, his chatterbox mother, or his gossipy next door neighbor. He wants to talk to a girl who's friendly, light, and breezy. And we're talking about the rules, all the rules, time tested secrets for capturing the heart of Mr. Right. Today is TR Thursday. He wants to talk to a girl who's friendly, light, and breezy. By getting off the phone first, you don't have to wonder if you've kept him on too long, bored him, or revealed too much about yourself, because it can be very difficult to monitor the amount of time you spend on the phone when you are in like or in love. We again suggest using a timer or stopwatch. When the bell rings, you sweetly say, I really have to go now. A timer is objective. You are not. I love this sentence. A timer is objective. You are not. Am I right? Am I right? Are the authors right? The co authors, they're the ones who said this. A timer is objective. You are not. It doesn't matter if you're having a great conversation. You know how they say tempest forget, time flies? Well, time flies when you're having fun. That means you're not being objective when you have fun. It seems like time's going really too quickly because things end so soon. It doesn't matter if you're having a great conversation and you want to tell him all about what happened to you between the ages of 5 and 6 that shaped your life. When the bell rings, the conversation is over. Remember, you always want to be mysterious. Having to get off the phone first creates a certain amount of mystery in his mind. He'll wonder why you have to go so soon, what you're doing, and if you're dating someone else. It's good for him to wonder about you. The rules and a timer will make him wonder about you a lot. You may think that men will find you're abruptly ending a phone call rude and won't call again. On the contrary, just the opposite often happens simply because men are irrational when it comes to love. For example, our friend Cindy set her timer to 4 minutes one evening instead of 10. Gotta go, she said at the sound of the bell. 5 minutes later, he called back to insist that they start seeing each other twice a week instead of once a week. The 4 minute call worked like a charm, bringing him closer to her, not, as you would expect, farther away. If you're a genuinely nice person, you will probably feel cruel when you do the rules. You will think you are making men suffer. Now that keep this in mind, this is key. You will think you are making men suffer, but in reality, you're actually doing them a favor. By doing the rules, you make men want to spend more time with you on the phone and in person. They get to experience longing. They get to experience longing. Tell yourself you are doing them a favor when you feel heartless about doing the rules. Another tip for driving a man to madness is to turn off your answering machine on a Sunday afternoon. Make your message box full on your phone and see if he doesn't go crazy trying to pin you down. When Cindy tried this tactic, her boyfriend ended up calling so many times that this was back in 1995 that he activated her answering machine. In those days, an answering machine would only turn on after you made it ring 15 times. 15. 15. Some machines will automatically turn on after 14 rings. Can you imagine him letting it ring 14 times? When he finally got her on the phone that night, he possessively asked, "Where have you been? I wanted to take you for a drive in the country." It's good when men get upset. It means they care about you. If they're not angry, they're indifferent. And if they're indifferent, they're 1 foot out the door. They've got 1 foot out the door. Getting off the phone after a few minutes is not easy, but it works. Our friend Jody felt that she was losing Jeff, her boyfriend of 3 months, when after a Saturday night date, he said goodbye very casually and told her, "I'll call ya. I'll let you know what's a good night for me next week." Jody felt the tables turning and took an extreme but necessary rules action. She didn't answer the phone the night he usually called. She just listened to it ring and ring. When he finally reached her the next day at work, he was a little less cocky and somewhat nervous. He asked her what night would be good for her. The phone strategy worked. He never pulled another stunt like that again. Here's another phone tip. If you're home on a Friday night because you're tired or don't have a date, leave the answering machine on, don't answer your phone, or have your mom or roommate say you're not home. And in those days, that's what happened. We had roommates answering the phone. That way, if by some chance he calls you on a Friday night because he's not doing anything either, he'll think you're not home. See, back in the days of no answering machines, people used to call each other's homes, and wherever they lived, whoever else was living there would answer the phone. So women never wanted men to answer their phone for them because, in case it was a guy calling, guess what? Well, this was what happened to me one time, and I've mentioned this story to you before too. A guy randomly calls me from high school, and we're 10 or 12 years out of high school at that time. And this guy who came to my party early, like by about 50 minutes early, 2 hours early, or some really ridiculously long amount of hours early for the party I was having that day, came in, and I was about to go take my shower. I should not have let the guy in. This was back before the rules, and he answered the phone. I heard the phone ring, and I had two answering machines at the time, one in this room and one in that room. And this guy comes and answers my phone. Hello? I'm like, fuck you. Check mark. This guy is not even a normal guest in my home. He answers my phone. Well, guess what? That made Winston Choi not call me ever again. And I just wonder about that sometimes. Like, what would have happened if I had gone out with Winston Choi? I just will never know because thanks to Steve Liu, gee whiz. Thank you, Steve. I think not. Um, I mean, I don't know. I don't. Maybe I should forgive him. What do you think? Okay. If by some chance he calls you on a Friday night because he's not doing anything either, he'll think you're not home. The worst thing you can do is give him the impression that you aren't busy and sought after by other men. Don't let him think that you're a couch potato, even if you are. Don't think playing games is bad. Sometimes game playing is good. Men like to think that they are getting the prom queen. Show him that you have a full life, that you are independent. Okay, so let's go to the biggest mistake. The biggest mistake a woman can make when she meets a man she wants to marry is to make him the center of her life. She may jeopardize her job by daydreaming at her desk about Prince Charming rather than rolling up her sleeves and working. First of all, he may be overwhelmed by all the attention. Second, he may never propose. And third, he may never rescue you emotionally and financially in the way you think. In the old days, women used to think that. Let's hope that those days stay the old days. Okay, the authors say, even if he marries you, he may always have that night out with the boys, his hobbies, or that Sunday morning basketball game, and he may want a working wife. So better get used to the idea now that you must have a life of your own, a job, interests, hobbies, friends that you can fill up on in between dates and even when you are married. The worst thing you can do when dating is to expect him to be your entertainment director. That's a key sentence in this book, too. The worst thing you can do when dating is to expect him to be your entertainment. There we are. Don't call him just because you're bored or want attention. Be happy and busy. He should always be catching you coming or going. We hear again and again about women whose worlds shrink when they meet Mr. Right. When you meet Mr. Right is precisely the time to take up tennis, get an MBA, or go on that camping trip with your friends. That is exactly true. That is also key. Let's say that again. We hear again and again about women whose worlds shrink when they meet Mr. Right. When you meet Mr. Right is precisely the time to take up tennis, get an MBA, or go on that camping trip with your friends. An MBA is a Master's of Business Administration, a new degree. So this is all a form of wisdom, knowing the right thing to do. In my opinion, this is the right way to date. In my opinion, no other way of dating has worked as well to get a good relationship where a man values the woman more than he values life itself. If he's in love with her and he marries her, great. If he treats her well, even better. And the magic action in doing all these rules will gain you a man who will treat you that way. Morsels of a thought. Okay, I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Old Kinderhook. Bye bye.